This week's Ask Max letter is talking about SOL testing, and it's talking about our children. And Charles is more informed on this topic than I, so I'm going to pull him in to explain to the listening audience what it's all about. But the question for today is whether or not we believe SOL testing should be continued in our school systems, whether or not it's beneficial to our children, or apparently it's going around, and I believe it's passed in a few states where you can opt out of having your child take the SOL testing.
That's the question on the table. It's a national debate right now, and so that's been brought to our attention.
I don't think that I would support opting out. For a number of reasons, and it's probably a great idea to have an educator chime in on this. But in my opinion, it could create, in my humble opinion, it could create a scenario where where there's already an achievement gap or a learning gap, it could lengthen that, because it's not requiring the kids to have to show what it is that they know. Right now, I'm actually working with my third grader on studying for his SOL that he'll be taking next month, and it's challenging. I have to figure out creative ways to teach him what he needs to know. But on the other hand, do I not want him to take the test at all? Do I want it based off of, I guess, an accumulation of grades down through the years and things like that? I think I'm for it. I certainly understand the part about kids learning differently and how that could create a problem for them, sitting down and reading it out of a book or on a computer or however it's done. But I think that maybe the focus should be on that rather than to take it away altogether and leave that particular child that may be struggling in whatever area not knowing at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that initial question of what we do agree? When it's asked directly to us, do we agree with the opt out clause? Coming to our schools. I think that even before you get to that, you have to dig a little deeper into what are we opting out of? In the standards of learning tests, I'm sure everybody knows what SOL is. It seems to me that there's two folds of it, which is one, it's supposed to summarize, for the year, supposed to take this test is supposed to take, an accumulative look as to what's been learned, as to what's been, contained for the studies throughout the year. So then, if that's the point, then is it fair to say that if a student isn't a good or great test taker, does that mean that they didn't learn it? Or is there some validity to saying someone is not a good test taker? Because I've also heard those say that, well, if you can't pass the test, that means you don't know it. And the opposite side of that is that, well, there's test anxiety, things of that sort, and that there's other ways to show if they learn it. And in my humble opinion, I can see both views, and there's really not a cop-out to answer it straight because I can see it both ways. And I will have to say that I would err on the opposite side of you.
Really?
Not just to play devil's advocate, because we do have good conversing in our conversations, but because truly just to highlight that side of it, which is that a lot of times, particularly minority students, part of the reason for achievement gaps and part of the reason for test scores not being as high with those who are from different minority groups is that the way that the information is delivered to them is not delivered in the most understandable way. So some people see that that's already off the bat, more heavily favored in the other direction as far as the life experiences and the styles of learning and things like that. That questions and the way that it's worded and things gets presented to certain students in a way to where they can't comprehend it as well as some other students do. And now, again, these are opinions. That's why we call it in my humble opinion, because I know there's plenty.
The school, though, they ought to be, should be, and are, I think, recognizing when a kid has a problem taking a test. And so, and so they, if they need to be in a certain class or need to take a test a certain way, then I've heard of them, sending a kid maybe to the computer lab or something like that to take his test, or sending him with another teacher that will help, read it to him, or different things like that. So, I don't know if I would take it away altogether. You'd rather take it away altogether than to...
Well, and as you know, like state to state, that opt-out, I think, is going to mean different things. Mm-hmm. So to me, if to Virginia, opt-out is to mean that there'll be other ways to assess what knowledge a child has garnered for the year.
Okay.
If there's other ways of doing that, I'm totally open to doing that. But, but I totally understand that some people see it as you got to have standards. You got to have a standard benchmark to where all students get tested equally. Because I could see the backlash from that as well. I could see the backlash from a parent saying, well, my kid didn't do as well on the SOL test, but if they were doing, what this other child did, and they were got a higher score.
I'm with you.
So I know that could become a large gray area. But my bottom line to it is that I feel like that school should be meeting kids at their needs, and I think there's multiple reasons to why some kids don't succeed in school. It's not that they're not prepared. It's not that they're not smart. So I feel like that's how it should be approached, is that opt-out should be the option. And really, this is bigger than the SOL test. I think that there should always be options for kids to be assessed and taught in ways that best suit them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I can understand what you're saying. I kind of wonder what's really behind it. Like, I hate to put it this way, but is there because there were a certain population of kids who were failing, and so we decide to, do away with it so that it doesn't show how these kids aren't doing as well, or how right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, is that really what it is? And then are you hurting the kid that you're trying to cover up for?
Yes.
I kind of think.
Yeah. So that perspective, are you thinking that it may be more of a school system sort of covering their tracks to try to get rid of the lower scores, or are you thinking it's more of of the student and their family trying to push to say, well, if my child can't do it, I'd rather not do it at all?
I wonder whether or not it's the school trying to cover up for the kid and their score.
Right. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, there's some that goes on, when you average grades and average scores, and if there's any curves that can be done, as with all stats, people always use statistics that justify whatever they're trying to, relay.
Right.
So that makes total sense. And to the initial thing that you mentioned, yes, that is true. In some states, there's been some populations, because some of the school districts that have populations that have supported this, and in Louisiana, for one, I saw a recent report that it seems to be that people who have political pull are normally people who are generally, well off, like they're generally educated, have a little bit of money, and they know the process to be involved in. And so some states are finding that parents and families that who may not understand or may be upset that their kid isn't achieving academically because they feel like, that they are, parents may be overachievers and can't grasp that the kid is not getting it. There has been reports of that happening in some jurisdictions, of there being some populations where they're saying that, we shouldn't be doing this, and they're finding that it's not always because it's trying to help the child.
Right.
It's more about people trying to have a cop out instead of an opt out. It's a cop out.
Right. So, right. Hopefully that answers your question. And feel free to continue to send those questions in. You can inbox us on Facebook, or you can email us at imho101jams@gmail.com.